In this house, we drink Irish whiskey. In every house, we should be drinking Irish whiskey. Good evening, folks. Welcome to the first Shebeen of 2024. I'm Barry. I'm joined by Anthony and Lauren for a night of drink and buses and the north and all kinds of things. You're all very welcome. Lauren, how are you? Anthony, how's it going?
All good. I have a bit of short cross and a bit of Dunvilles lined up tonight in keeping with the theme of our Northern Whiskey Lights bus.
Happy days. Happy days.
I'm on 2 stacks at the minute, and I've a Dunvilles there ready to go. Should I need reinforcements?
Brilliant. I've got Killowen in the glass. I've got a 3-year-old Tawny Port, which I'm almost finished that bottle. I've got our 4-year-old Killowen Stories and Sips bottle. And I have a few more Northern brands behind me. Dunvilles as well, 2 stacks, Titanic, Short Cross, depending on how late we go. So you're all very welcome. And thanks for joining us for the first Shebeen of 2024. Most of America is covered in ice and snow and wind and rain and sub-zero temperatures. So I hope you're staying warm wherever you are. And I'm sure the whiskey will help with that as well. But great to see you all back. Amy says it's we've sure missed the Shebeen. Feels like Sundays are back to normal again. I agree with that. Lauren, what's the story tonight? What are we doing?
So if everyone was tuned into socials for the last 2 weeks, you may have seen us initially rather unsubtly teasing where our next whiskey bus was going. And then we finally announced, well, we launched it yesterday. We announced it last Saturday that our next whiskey bus is in September, from the 21st to the 28th, and we're going north this time. It's the first time we have ever stayed the full 7 nights in one place. So we'll be staying the full 7 nights in Belfast City Centre, which we'll come on to in a little bit more detail later on. And we'll be reaping the rewards of the many distilleries, not only in and around the city, but also in the city as well. And of course, up north a little bit further to Bushmills, to the Causeway Coast. County Down and County Antrim are the liveliest regions of whiskey production on the island of Ireland at the minute. So we figured it made sense to go where all the action is. And what better place for 30 thirsty Irish whiskey drinkers. So yeah, very exciting. We can't wait.
Anthony, you have seen firsthand, as Irish whiskey has grown over the past number of years, the rise of brands from the north, bonders and bottlers and distilleries that have come across your desk at Irish Whiskey Auctions. We've called it County Down, the busiest whiskey county in Ireland. You've got to be seeing a lot of whiskey from that area.
Huge, Barry. Absolutely massive. I mean, and I think one of the things that sort of helps it is the quality of the stuff that's coming out of it as well. There's so much good whiskey. And I mean, again, it's only just beginning. That's the greatness about this. I mean, you know, Dunvilles, I mean, we're all familiar with the Dunvilles brand, but that's not even their own whiskey yet. Wait till they actually have their own whiskey on the shelves, which we will be lucky enough to get tasting in September. But I mean, you know, what the likes of 2 Stacks have done, what Brendan has done in Killowen, Short Cross, they're all just hinged. There's no shortage of quality products coming out of the north, and it's setting itself apart. I think as a region, we wouldn't have traditionally what Scotland has in the regions, but I think it's definitely carving out something unique. And it's the greatness of Irish whiskey is that it's Irish whiskey. It's Irish whiskey distilled on the island of Ireland, and that's the great thing about all the history, all the past, everything we've always gone through. It's the one, you know, static that's been there, and thank God it has, because now we're reaping the rewards from the likes of Bushmills as well. Look what we got from Bushmills as well. We got something from Bushmills as well.
We picked up a bottle of Macmullen's finest.
Yeah. Actually, and you know what? It seems serendipity that we're doing this now, because I mean, I think, you know, people who were on Whiskey Bus 1, it was just a fantastic experience. It was a unique experience. We were all learning to do it. But like, Lauren was there with us we couldn't get rid of her at the end. She was hanging on to get fed and everything else, and meals and, you know, stuff like that. But it's great that now she's leading the charge, and she's showing off all of the brands and all of the whiskies instead of just the Bushmills, which I'm sure she'll be cheerleading with our pal Alex just as loudly.
No
It's
doubt.
it'll be really nice actually. Yeah, by the way, this bottle isn't returnable or refundable, just so you know, FYI. Um,
Expensive bottle too.
just to preface this, no, I think it'll be a really sort of significant moment to go full circle and bring a bus back to Bushmills, but be on this side of things now. Near enough 2 years later. Okay, the first bus is 2022, and then this will be this September. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to it. And it is, I mean, it's, don't get me wrong, it's amazing now being able to represent the whole Irish whiskey category as opposed to just one brand. So there's so many incredible brands out there, that makes it very, very fun.
And Anthony, you made an interesting point there that a few people might not be aware of this idea of the island of Ireland whiskey category, and it's worth us maybe just spending a minute on it. Like, there's no such thing as a Northern Irish whiskey. You won't see the words Northern Ireland in a bottle of whiskey. Can you explain a little bit about what that is and why that is?
It's just something that it's carried through partition. It's something that carried, I mean, from the early days. I mean, Bushmills was known as an Irish malt, an Irish single malt. It's just brilliant. I mean, I don't think there was, just thinking here, I'm actually just thinking, trying to run through my head. I think there was one that mentioned Northern Ireland on the front of a label. Was it a Coleraine bottle? And I have a sort of picture of it in my head, like a red and green one. And I think it said Northern Ireland, but I think it was more of just a tip of the hat to where it was from, rather than actually sort of trying to separate itself away from the other ones. But it's been brilliant. I mean, the Belfast whiskies, you know, Belfast itself, when it was in its height, as people often refer to it, it really did rival Dublin. And it not only rivaled Dublin, it dwarfed Dublin in its output. I mean, you know, the Royal Irish Distillery was just absolutely a monster. I mean, it was a monster distillery. So, look, it's a great thing. And I think, you know, no matter what, you know, your creed or whatever side you were on for years, it was Irish whiskey. And some people went, I mean, and again, unfortunately, I've had to correct some people on that. They did sort of say something like, you know, that certain whiskies from a, you know, from a certain background. And you go, no, it's not. No, it's, it's all Irish whiskey, and that's the great thing about it. It's all Irish whiskey.
And as far I heard the fact that it's the only food or drink item in Europe that it's got a geographical indicator. So it's Irish whiskey is a protected category within the European Union, but it straddles two different jurisdictions. There's no other food item like Parmesan can only come from Parmesan region, Champagne can only come from the Champagne region, and on we go. Whereas Irish whiskey can come from Northern Ireland and Ireland. So and it's all Irish whiskey. And that's an interesting fact. And like you said, it predates the division of the island into two different jurisdictions. So on we go, which is good news.
You hit the nail on the head there when you said about, I think people, like we've said this before, when people think about Belfast, they think about shipbuilding, the sort of the linen production. They don't tend to think about Irish whiskey. It's kind of got lost in the history, I guess, of the city. But you're right about Royal Irish Distilleries. I think at one point it was 2.5 million litres they were producing a year. It's an insane amount for that period of time. As you say, I think as well, I think it was 1899, the street directory for Belfast had 18 distilleries registered. Like, that's a massive amount of distilleries for a very small city. And that's not to mention the bonders that were there as well. So it was a real hub for Irish whiskey, and it's great to see that it's being put back on the map now again with the revival of brands like Donville's and obviously McConnell's reviving. They'll be opening their distillery in the next few months, and of course Titanic, who brought distilling back to the city in August last year. Great revival.
And it's only in the last 10 years that we've seen this growth too, because it was it 2013, Redemon Estate and Ecklandville started distilling, and the others have followed since. So we've got this growth in County Down in the last 10 years, which is reflective of the greater island too, of since 2012 with Dingle coming online. We've gone from 3 or 4 distilleries on the island to 43 or 44 distilleries all in the last 10 years, 12 years, 11 years, which is incredible growth. But still a very immature category in the grand scheme of things.
But the only thing, and I think that's one of the things that I've been bleating on about it, because it's not only the jobs that were in the distilleries themselves, it was all the ancillary stuff that went in. It was the farmers, it was the malters, it was the coopers, it was the delivery men, it was, and that's coming back now. That's the great thing. I mean, I often, when I'm, banging the drum of Irish whiskey auctions, I'm saying it's not just the staff in the office. We've now got couriers arriving twice a day, 2 different courier companies. We're going out and we're spending our money in the local community, which all of these distillery were. So that's back now. How many people's employed in Ecklandville? And, whereas before we only had Bushmills was the employer, and now you've got so many places. And as I say, all the ancillary jobs that go with it as well. That's the greatness of the industry. It's not just one little thing, one little narrow margin.
Now, it still doesn't come anywhere close to rivaling Cork, of course, which we'll acknowledge. We will cement in there. Put that in the record, Lauren. Have that recorded, please, in the minutes of the meeting here. But at least there are some pretenders to the Cork throne that are rolling the dice and seeing what they can do.
There's never one, Shebeen. Never one without the mention of Cork. We can't get through an hour and a half.
Well, why would we? Listen, without the Cork, this island that is a bottle would sink. We need Cork. Cork is keeping us afloat.
I have a lovely statement to answer that, but I won't. I think for all our sakes,
you can take that Cork.
Yeah. Something about ship and bottom. Yes, that's your right.
Lauren and I were talking during the week about this upcoming bus in September, and how our first ever whiskey bus, somehow miraculously, Anthony, you managed to get us to come to your hometown of Dundalk. The second whiskey bus, we got it to come to Cork. The third whiskey bus is going to where none of us live, the West Coast, but the fourth whiskey bus is going to Lauren's part of the world. So we've all had, by the end of September, we'll all have had a bit of extra business brought to our corners of Ireland, and a few more satiated drinkers happy as a result of the trip. So Lauren, are you excited about showcasing that part of the country, and hopefully you feel a little bit under pressure to deliver?
Absolutely. I do. Yes. I feel like this is resting on my shoulders here, considering that everyone comes to me for recommendations and advice on Belfast and surrounding areas. I'm delighted. I think that the challenge with this bus, the September bus, and the itinerary was what not to do. As we've mentioned, there are so many brands, so many distilleries in Antrim and Down that you physically couldn't leave anybody out, because that sort of Belfast and County Down is such a small sheltered area. All the brands are very close. Everyone knows each other. They're not just close in sort of proximity wise, they're close as friends as well. And we just couldn't leave anybody out, and it was a bit of a challenge to try and weave the itinerary around everyone. But we're very lucky that no distillery is over an hour away, so they're all kind of within that hour drive, which is great. And then think of how many pubs. Some of the best Irish whiskey bars on the island are in Belfast. You've got the Duke of York, Biddle's, Madden's. It's a packed itinerary, but it's going to be worth it. It really, really will be brilliant.
Are we calling to you? Are we going to meet your mommy and daddy?
Barry said this as well. Call in for a cup of tea on the way back from Bushmills. Maybe.
I think we should.
We were hoping that a little tea kettle could be set up in the front lawn as the bus swings by for You know, we'll pay them £1 a head.
Tea with Mommy and Daddy McMullen. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's
highlight.
If they're listening to this, I'm going to be cursed tomorrow.
Take Bushmills off the itinerary and stick on the McMullen household.
Yeah. Well, but it looks like she's got enough whiskey to do it behind her there as well. Yeah,
that's a growing shelf.
Yes,
she's challenging you, Barry. She's challenging you.
She is challenging me. Yeah, she's a competitive one.
Yeah. I know Barry's ceiling's fallen down. I haven't quite reached that stage yet.
Mine are all dummy bottles. They're filled with tea anyway. I drank them all last year. We stopped numbering our whiskey buses. So we have, because we also have a number of private buses that we're not going to tell any of you about because they're private buses that we host for people who want private family trips, who want trips for their pubs, trips for their whiskey clubs. And so technically, if we were to keep the sequences, those would have a number as well. But instead, we're abandoning the numbering now. Instead, they'll all have names. So this is the Northern Whiskey Lights bus, right? Lauren, that's the right name for it?
Yep. Yeah, Northern Whiskey Lights, yeah.
And we'll have a name for each one going forward.
And also, please God, 5 years down the line, imagine numbering them. Whiskey bus number 32. I think we'd lose track quite quickly.
Well, according to your contract, that's year 3. Whiskey bus 32.
Page number 52. Yeah.
Contract,
You initialed every page of that contract, if I recall.
Look, I think it's a great lineup. In fairness to you, Lauren, I know while Barry gives you more abuse than I do, but I think
that's pretty
okay, fair enough. I think this one has been your show, and I think looking at the itinerary and looking at the bookings, I mean, I've been watching them coming in there. You've done us proud. You've done us proud.
Thank you very much. Very nearly sold out. We've only 6 seats left, which is amazing for this early stage. Considering we're 9 months out, we're delighted with it. They flew out yesterday as soon as we went live. And I know I'm having conversations with at least 6 people that are debating. They're hovering over that reserve your place button. So I'd say after this evening, once we've covered the itinerary, I'd say there might be a few more bookings because you will not want to miss this one. Trust me.
So what we want to do is we want to use the itinerary in 2 ways. One is whether you're joining the Whiskey Bus or not, we want to share the great things that are happening on the island of Ireland, whiskey-wise. And so what we'll do is we'll walk through the itinerary. And as we do, whether you're joining us or not, you're going to get to see just what is on offer. Maybe there's new distilleries that you weren't aware of. There's certainly a few new featured stops that we've not really spoken about before that'll be worth hearing. And maybe it'll give you an idea for when you visit Ireland on your own, or whether you join a future bus with us or a future experience. And those of you who are joining us in the bus, you'll get a little bit more of an in-depth overview of what's happening. Feel free to throw any questions into the chat as we go through it, because there's a lot to cover here. But Lauren, I wonder if you could maybe give us a sense of what you've put together as being what you think is the great representative itinerary for the region.
Absolutely. So as we said earlier, this was probably the most challenging itinerary, I think, in terms of the sheer volume of distilleries, and honestly, on our behalf as well, not wanting to disappoint people. So we are genuinely, in the 7 days that you will spend in Belfast, we are visiting every single whiskey brand, whether it's a distillery or bonder, in County Down and County Antrim. So you've got, let's try and name these all: Bushmills, McConnell's, Titanic, Hinch, Copeland, Shortcross, Ecklinville, Two Stacks and Killowen. They are all in there. And at each of these stops, if you're on board and if you decide to come on board, you will be enjoying things and experiences and people that you cannot get if you just rock up to those distilleries. In fact, several of the brands that we're visiting, you actually can't just rock up for a tour. Killowen being the perfect example. Because Brendan is essentially a one-man show there, he doesn't have the capacity to cope with tour groups of any size. So we're very lucky that we have access to places and people like him. So within that, You'll be sampling unreleased whiskies. We've got so many surprises in there as well that we haven't disclosed on the itinerary, because obviously we love to throw in that element of surprise. If you've been on buses with us before, you'll know that. And we have really unique cocktail experiences, sensory experiences in there as well. It is honestly such a packed itinerary, but it cannot be more worth it. There's actually 2 of the distilleries that we're going to are being closed exclusively for our bus as well. So that just goes to show what you will be enjoying when you're on board our bus.
There'll be a shortage of whiskey in a few years because of the night that the distilleries were closed. There'll be a gap.
And we also will have Nigel. Nigel, our very famed and loved bus driver, literally will not let anybody else drive that bus now because he knows how much fun it is. So he will also be joining us.
Employee number 4, Nigel.
He is. He really is.
Lauren, give us a sense of like, for those who've never been to Belfast, like, what should you expect of the city beyond just whiskey? Like, what's Belfast?
Belfast is, obviously I'm biased, but it is genuinely one of, if not my favorite city in all of Ireland. It is really, really accessible. It's a very small city. So where we're based, and we'll cover that in a second, where our hotel is, you are max 10-minute walk from fantastic restaurants. Belfast, the location it is, we're very lucky that we have great seafood, really fresh, fantastic local seafood restaurants, local produce. There's great markets, St. George's Market, and there's also great street food markets as well in terms of common market, trade market. All the fantastic pubs, as I said, are less than a 10-minute walk. Despite the fact of the history, the very checkered past that Belfast has had, it's actually one of the safest cities now in Ireland as well. Obviously, you still need to keep your wits around you. It's still a city and you still have to be safe, but it's a very homely feel. It's very welcoming. And there's so much to see as well, as Barry said, besides the pubs. Think of the political history of Belfast. You've got the Black Taxi tours in there as well, which is just such a phenomenal insight into the troubles, the political turmoil, the history of Belfast throughout the 70s, 80s, 90s. And of course, the history of Titanic as well. I think the Titanic Visitor, the museum was named one of Europe's best visitor attractions last year and possibly the year before as well, actually. So there's so much history aside from the whiskey as well. So it's a city that honestly you could spend at least a week, probably 10 days in, if you really want to dive deep into the history of the city. It's great. And I think
Nice.
both of you love it for a night out as well. It's a great night out. Really, really good. And I think that it's the fact that it is so walkable and it's a small city that everywhere's so accessible, and it just makes it feel really kind of welcoming.
Yeah.
Just on 2 of the things that you touched there as well, Lauren. I mean, when we done the Belfast weekend some time back there, I mean, for me, I've been in Belfast loads. I mean, you know, I've been in Belfast since I was a kid, up and down to Belfast, because we're in halfway between Dublin and Belfast. And it truly is a fantastic city. But doing things like the Titanic experience, the Titanic distillery experience, that to me was just unbelievable. And then out to Crumlin Road Jail, where McConnell's is now based. Like, if there's any definition of how far Belfast has come from, and is literally streets ahead of most other, as you say, Irish cities in what it's doing now, and I suppose it's really fine lining that, you know, embracing its past, but also really looking to the future. I mean, the jail as McConnell's is going to be, that is just exceptional. It's probably one of the most unique distilleries in the world, not just Ireland, the world. You know, so there's nothing like it as well, and how compact it is. But again, and that's the joy of Belfast. I love Belfast. I really enjoy. Me and Katie would regularly go up to Belfast and, you know, go out for a drink, and it's everything that you want it to be. It's nice fine dining, or it's just, as you said, street food. in George's Market with a Belfast bap and the runny egg dripping out of it. It is phenomenal. It's a great city, great city.
Where are we taking people, Lauren? So on this 7-day odyssey, where you mentioned earlier 7 days in one city, not only in one city, but in one hotel. And a lot of the feedback we got on previous trips was people would both, it's the great irony of it all, the great kind of challenge for us is I don't want to move hotels, but I also want to see everything. Whereas we now in Belfast get to stay in the one place. You unpack once, you don't have to repack for 7 days, yet you still see everything.
Yeah, exactly. And I think certainly going forward as well, for those of you who maybe can't make this year, we would love, this is a kind of a style of bus and an itinerary we would love to do going forward, because it is so easy for everyone to really feel at home for the full 7 nights. I mean, as you said, Barry, we want to show you as much of Ireland as possible when we go on the bus trips, but that does involve moving around, and we fully understand it's not totally convenient to have to kind of live out of a suitcase or unpack and pack again. So you can make Belfast and the one hotel your home for the full 7 nights, and we will just be doing everything out of there. So where we will be staying is the Grand Central Hotel, right smack bang in Belfast city centre. As we said, about 10 minutes walk from all the lovely restaurants and pubs in the city centre. And it's also a 5-star hotel as well. It was only opened in 2018, so it's a relatively new addition to the city. It's actually also one of Ireland's tallest buildings, would you believe, as well. In fact, both of the tallest buildings in Ireland are in Belfast. We have the Grand Central Hotel and we have the Oval Tower, which is an apartment block. So I think the Grand Central has 23 floors. I think if I'm right, 23 floors. Beautiful rooftop bar, lovely spacious rooms. So this will be our home for the full 7 nights, which is so fantastic that we can just make it home. Nigel will be happy as well because there's a bus stop right outside. So everybody's pleased, or else if you can't get parked outside, the city hall is about 2 minutes over the road. You can park there. So this will be our home. And all 3 of us have stayed in here as well. So we're familiar with it. It's not as if we're blind booking this one. Great hotel. Then, so night 1. So we're not going to go in extreme detail of each day because we'd be here quite literally for hours, but we'll give you a kind of overview. So the first night, the 21st of September, so it's Saturday to Saturday. So most people, I'd imagine, might be flying over a little bit earlier than that if they want to relax or chill out for a few days, or come in on the Friday, which will have you in on the Saturday morning. So for the first night, we're handing over the reins to McConnell's and the team there. Most of you will be very familiar with brand manager of McConnell's, Sarah Kennedy. She makes several visits to the States throughout the year. So she was former ambassador, now brand manager, and Graham Miller, who is their master distiller. We will be having the distillery completely to ourselves for the welcome dinner. So we'll be having a private tour, private tasting, and we'll be dining with Graham and with Sarah and the wider McConnell's team as well for the first night. So we'll have a caterer from Belfast who will be pairing McConnell's whiskey to the courses that we enjoy that night. And we're essentially going to dine in a historic 18th century jail, which is going to be amazing for the evening. So what a way
I'd say, I'm sure quite a few of our guests have already had dinner in a jail.
I'd say so.
You bet me to it, Barry. That's exactly what I'm thinking. I mean, Troy has got to have been in the prison before.
It's not the first prison dinner.
Yeah, he's got to be there before, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Dave Flores, what do you think? Has Dave been in the prison before?
He has, but he's under strict orders not to talk about it.
Yeah. It was a simple max. It was one of them ones.
Yeah, for the family, like.
Yeah.
So McConnell's, as many of you probably know as well, is a very old Belfast brand. Their distillery was formerly known as the Cromac Distillery, which was in Ravenhill Road, which is a very, very busy road in Belfast. And like many other Irish distilleries, they ceased production in the 1930s, largely due to prohibition in the US. but they also had warehouses just around the corner, actually, from the Duke of York in the Cathedral Quarter on Dunbar Street. So they have a real tie to Belfast. So it's a lovely revival of an old Belfast brand in such a historic location as well. And it's a great example of repurposing of an old building. So they are situated in the A wing. So there's several wings of the jail itself. And the center of it is what they call kind of the windmill. And then the wings obviously come out from the center of that. And they've repurposed the A wing into an absolutely beautiful distillery, which we got a sneak peek of in November. We were the first public tour to see inside their new distillery and see the stills in place. And it's come on leaps and bounds even in the last few weeks since then as well. So it will be fully open by the time we get there. And as I said, we'll have the whole place to ourselves as well. So what a way to kick off a week-long adventure.
And only the beginning. That's one stop of 2026.
One stop of many.
Yeah.
One stop of many.
So that's when you get off the yeah, that's your first stop. And then this, I'm excited for this. This next stop, Lauren, you can obviously spill the beans on it, but I'm very excited.
Well, you can announce why you're excited. It's because of the first Whiskey Bus, isn't it?
Yeah, so look, I remember when we were planning our first Whiskey Bus, I remember Fiona Boyd Armstrong, who you see there, the only woman owner of a distillery on the island of Ireland, messaged me and said, you have to come to Redemon Estate. You have to come to taste Shortcross whiskey. I said, Fiona, we'd love to, but our itinerary is full. And she said, you don't understand. You have to come to the distillery. And at that stage, I started getting very afraid. And I said, okay, what have you got in mind? And she said, trust us. This is what we do. We'll take care of you. And we made the leap. We tried to squeeze 3 distilleries into one day. Anthony talked us out of that, and we managed to do 2 distilleries. But we went to Redemon Estate, our last stop of Whiskey Bus number 1. It was after, I think we were on to our 56th or 60th pour of whiskey by the time we got there. Day 7. About 80% of the bus was on board. The others were in bed asleep because they were sleeping off the previous 6 days. But we had an amazing experience at Redemon Estate because it turned out to be a stop that resulted in a whiskey club, a Stories and Sips whiskey club bottling, because we tasted a sample of something special there. And we just had it was an unexpectedly good experience. And the estate, the whiskey, the experiences there have come on in leaps and bounds in the last 2 years as well. And I know that David and Fiona want to really take care of our guests when they go there.
Absolutely.
I don't think they got it. I'll say this because I didn't, and I wasn't even there that day. I didn't get going that day. I don't think they got a fair crack at a whip.
No.
And it wasn't through any fault of anybody. It was, as Barry said, a lot of us were shot. We were just done. It was such a long week. It was a full week. We had so much whiskey in us. Some people just stayed at home, but everybody who went to the distillery that morning raved about it. Absolutely. Yeah. And actually made us all jealous that we weren't there and we didn't get to enjoy it. And I've been back and I've since rectified that with David and Fiona. But wow, you really spoke so highly of it. So having them on day 2 this year, I think is just reward for what they've done for your group as well, Barry, with the Stories and Sips bottlings and that as well. I think it's a fair just reward for them, and hopefully they'll get the time that they deserve to showcase what is a spectacular distillery in a spectacular setting. But I mean, what they're doing up there as well is truly spectacular as well.
And let's not go into detail on that day, Lauren. Let's leave this day a surprise.
I think so too.
It's going to be great.
The only thing I will say is, Anthony, you've hit the nail on the head. That's exactly why we've brought Shortcross forward earlier in the week, because they were, as you said, at the very, very end of the inaugural Whiskey Bus. So all I'll say for the day at Shortcross is there's surprises in store, as always. And the day is a sort of, think of it as a taste the journey of Shortcross. So
I said don't give it away. I said don't go into detail. I want you cannot resist the detail of a day.
I'm not giving any detail.
And I'm
Listen,
I'm surprised actually, because it's usually Barry that spills the Scotch.
I know.
You're right, Lauren. So Lauren,
It's-
quiet.
Continue. I'm just leaving it as a taste the journey. We all know the Short Cross are obsessed with flavor, and it's a huge sort of important point for their
Okay.
brand.
Stop
Right,
talking. Stop talking.
There's
No, I'm
5
not.
more days to go,
No, I'm
Lauren. We're 40 minutes into this, Shebeen. There's 5 more days to go.
We're 35 minutes in. We've got to. We'll have this done by 1 a.m.
Can we pause there for 1 second, please? Because while Lauren's been waffling on unnecessarily on details she wasn't supposed to share, I just want to answer one question here from one of our lovely audience who doesn't talk at length or ad nauseum like Lauren does. But Tom says, please tell me they found another cask of our Club Peter whiskey. Tom, the good news is that there is that orange liqueur peated single malt is destined for the United States as a core release from Shortcross, not at cask strength, but I think it's 46%. But there's going to be a larger availability of that going to the United States in the next few months. So that's good news. It's not cask strength, but it is the same batch that was distilled, the same batch that was matured, just cut down in ABV slightly. So back to you, Lauren, and your 3-hour symposium on Bushmills.
Also, just to clarify, everything that I just shared is on the website already. So if anyone wanted to find out the information, they can just go there. So
you sprinkled up on the website as well. That's what you're saying.
Anyway, so on the Monday, so this will be Monday the 23rd, you can't go north without going to the giant of Irish whiskey, which is, of course, my former place of work, the Old Bushmills Distillery. So pictured there, some of you might not be as familiar with that building as you would be the Old Bushmills Distillery. That is the brand new Causeway Distillery, which was opened last April officially. It has actually been distilling whiskey since 2021, about July 2021. But the official opening was last year, which took Bushmills to 12 million litres of output of whiskey output a year. So we will have Alex Thomas, Master Blender, to ourselves for the full afternoon. And we will be going inside the Causeway Distillery, where tours normally do not go. You cannot access this building. You can't book it. No tours get to go there. They only get to go in the traditional tour route. So we're going to be going inside. We'll have Alex, and we'll also have the new Bushmills ambassador, Mark McConville, who I believe will also be shaking up a lovely little welcome drink from us. We'll be having a tasting and a tour, and it's going to be fantastic.
The only reason we're getting into that building is because Lauren kept her employee key card and she's going to swipe it for us. And that's why we're getting in.
So we're trespassing. I haven't even inquired with Bushmills if we're going there or not.
We don't even know we're coming.
No, they don't know we're coming. We're just going to rock up and hope for the best. And I know the back entrance anyway, so it's all good.
I can't wait for this.
It was one of the things, I mean, when we were there on Whiskey Bus, one, that we've seen it in the distance. And I mean, for us that were in the industry and, you know, we're sort of aware of most things going on, how quiet they kept it. I mean, how photos hadn't leaked. I mean, it's exactly what you see there. It's a gorgeous building in itself. But I mean, everybody's so proud of Bushmills up that territory, and rightly so. But I mean, it was mad that it wasn't, you know, more common knowledge than it was. And
I know.
Now for us to be getting inside, I think is great. It's lovely to getting back to it as well.
Exactly, like when it was in construction, so it was being built all throughout COVID, obviously 2020, early 2021 as well. Not a single photograph of that distillery appeared online. All the local villagers, everything kept it completely quiet, which again, as you said, Anthony, just kind of nods to the respect and the admiration that they have for Bushmills up there, and you really feel it as well. You really do when you're in the village. So it'll be a fantastic day. Alex as well, of course, she's one of the busiest women in whiskey. She has 500,000 plus barrels to look after as master blender. So she's a very busy woman. So she doesn't normally come out of her warehouses for tour groups. So we're very lucky that we have her for the afternoon.
Just saw it there. We've only 4 places left. Thank you for that. So, which is amazing. Causeway Distillery is like a spaceship. It's spectacular. It is unbelievable. And to be there with the master blender who was who led the team to design the building, we just look again. When I first got into whiskey, I didn't know you could actually speak to these people. Like, I didn't know that, they were kind of. I remember the first time I ever met Billy Lighton, who was at one time Alex Thomas's boss in Bushmills, and he was the blender overseeing all the Irish distillers distilleries. I didn't know that you could meet these people. And when I first met Billy Lighton, I thought he was some kind of like these were superheroes, when I first got into whiskey. And we're very lucky that they are open to enthusiastic, curious, thirsty whiskey fans coming and enjoying what they make and getting so close to them. It's still a real privilege to me to get to meet these absolute gods of Irish whiskey.
Yeah. And I mean, you will not meet a more personable, more approachable soul than Alex Thomas. You just won't find one. She's so willing to impart her knowledge, share her knowledge of her career and her role now currently as Bushmills and Sexton Master Blenders. It's unbelievable. It really is. And also for everyone who is on board the Whiskey Bus, the distillery gift shop now stocks the Causeway, which they didn't the last time we were there, and the older aged malts as well, so like the 25 and 30. So you can fill your boots. You don't have to go to the friend at hand this time to get some of the older expressions, which is great.
Well, I think just to jump in there, I think the reason why Shortcross didn't get the full accompaniment of the Whiskey Bus that day was everybody was queuing outside the friend at hand to get was it the Sauternes and the Vermouth? Was it the
Pomerol and Vermouth? Yeah,
Pomerol and the Vermouth that had only been released and nobody could get it. And we got word that Ray and the lads were going to have it in the friend at hand, and that they were nearly ambushed as they were opening up from lads trying to get the bottles. Yeah, that's true.
My colleague Gary at the time, who's the key account manager, one of the key account managers and brand development in NI, he was quite literally delivering the stock. He didn't even get to put it on the shelf. And everybody was in, yes, I'll take 3 of those, please. 2 of those, please.
Straight into the buffalo.
Queued outside the friend at hand. It was brilliant.
Yeah,
it's one of the lovely things about this itinerary, and I am going to be enjoying this as much as the guests because there's places here that I haven't been to. One of the fascinating bits for me is the diversity and range of sizes and scales and approaches of distilleries. Like, you're seeing one of the largest distilleries in the country here, just following one of the small boutique micro distilleries in Ireland, for lack of a better phrase. And they all have the right to have a day, a half day. They all punch so big in their own way. And it just paints a really diverse picture of what's happening in such a small area, like geographically, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's unbelievable. And then, you go to the likes of Two Stacks as well, who are doing completely different things and unbelievable work with different cask finishes, flavor profiles, unbelievable. And as you said, I think it really does give such a, not just a picture of what's happening up north, but the overall sort of industry. And then, so we have the afternoon at Bushmills. As I said, it's about an hour 10 or so drive north. When we go back to Belfast in the evening, everyone will have a little bit of time for dinner, I believe, this day. You can go and explore Belfast, explore the pubs and the lovely restaurants yourselves. Then we're not going to tell you what this is. All we're going to say is we have a special live event at a secret location in Belfast. And I'm leaving it there.
It's not like you to leave it there, Lauren. Are you sure you don't want to share 100 more lines?
Sure, I might as well just tell the whole thing. Yeah, so we're actually...
Is it karaoke in your front garden?
Oh, for goodness sake. Like,
Lauren rapping.
Yeah.
Lauren rapping.
I can rap, yeah.
Lauren doing the Cork accent while rapping.
I'll rap in a Cork accent. I'll try and keep it PC. We'll
I
try.
was going down Patrick Street and I've met my girl. Yeah. Right, on we go.
Anyway,
Keep going.
moving swiftly onwards. What day are we on for? Tuesday the 24th. We will be keeping it local. We will be staying in Belfast, so we won't have too far to drive from the hotel over to Titanic Distillers. David Stewart, I don't think he's watching tonight. I think he said he was going to watch it on replay. He made a hilarious comment during the week. Yes, we are actually going to be doing a boat tour with Titanic on the Lady of the Lagan, which founder of Titanic, Peter Lavery, owns. That you can do tours of Belfast Harbour on, and you can learn all about the fascinating history of the Belfast ports and Belfast Harbour itself. David Stewart said, "Are we tempting fate? Do not worry, folks. There are no icebergs in Belfast. We'll be grand for an hour on the River Lagan. We'll be fine." So you're both looking at me like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?"
It's this health and safety thing that you're just so blasé about. It's just like out the window, putting people on a Titanic boat, not worrying about it. It's me that'll have to fill in the insurance forms.
Be grand.
Look, it's fine. It's worth it. There's flotation devices, life jackets. We're grand. There's no fear of us.
We're grand. Exactly.
This stop here, when we did the Belfast Whiskey Weekend, blew me away. Now, I come from a town in Cork where Titanic left from, last port of call. I was obsessed with the Titanic growing up. I thought I knew everything about the ship. I knew nothing because I learned more when I went to Titanic Distillers and did the tour there than I'd ever known. This distillery is in the pump house of the dry dock where the Titanic itself had, I think, about a week. It was there being fitted out in the dry dock. The pumps that were used to pump the water in and pump the water out of that dry dock are still there. They're still usable. They're the same pumps that were installed in, I think it was 1911, and they can be used. They're diesel generated or steam generated based on diesel power. They can be used today. Like this is how well this pump house was built. It is a phenomenal tour. You cannot build from scratch history like this. It takes 100+ years to form, and we're going to be in the middle of it all.
In the middle of it, yeah, exactly. So all the original features of the pump house have been retained. So as Barry said, the pumps are there, the cranes you can see just above the middle still there as well. Everything, and they actually did use those as well to help construct the distillery. It's fantastic, and also you can actually. It's not for the faint-hearted if you're afraid of steps, especially steps that you can see through, but you can actually go down into the pump house itself, right down into the heart of the building and stand beside the pumps. And it doesn't matter how many times you see photographs of them, you cannot capture the scale of them. They are absolutely huge. I mean, they drained 23 million gallons of water in about 110 minutes back in the day when they were used. You go outside, you see the dry dock, which was the largest dry dock in the world in 1911. Again, you cannot comprehend the scale of it or the scale of the Titanic. Obviously, compared to cruise ships nowadays, it's nothing. But at that time, the scale of it was unbelievable. And it really was such a brilliant tour. So it's divided kind of into 3 sections. The distillery tour, the pump house, the dry dock, and then the tasting as well. And we start off the morning, as I said, on the boat, which brings us right outside. So it goes from a place in Belfast where we call the Big Fish, which is literally a time capsule with loads of old newspaper articles and things actually inside it. It's at the other side. And then we'll spend an hour out on the Lagan learning about the history of Belfast and a little bit of course, about the Titanic as well. And then we'll be brought right outside the distillery. We'll get off and we'll go in. Going to be a brilliant morning. Really will.
2 things I have a question on. I wasn't a party to that part, but hopefully they're either no Guinness on board or they've got several million litres of it.
I would say there's no Guinness because it'll be about 9 a.m. in the morning. No judgment.
That never stopped us before. Yeah,
it didn't. I would say for safety reasons, because we actually have to function and go through a working distillery with stairs, there will be no Guinness. There is, however, I believe, an Irish coffee.
Right. And the next thing is you touched on it there. It is probably the most unique way of seeing a distillery. I've never seen a distillery from underneath. So when you're down at the pumps and you get to see the stills literally above your head and the special trays that they had to put in to sort of protect the equipment below and all that sort of stuff. And then, as you said, the sheer scale of the dry dock is, even now, I mean, I know you said in comparison to modern cruise ships and to modern ferries and stuff, but it is, when you see the images of how far even the Titanic extended over the barrier and stuff like that, it's just, it is really, really, it's a privilege to see it and to get the access that we get. Again, I know from talking to the team there the last day, they really don't want people going down to the pumps because of obviously health and safety, but they said, actually, look, you are dead on, you just go ahead, because of who we are and that, it'd be grand,
I think 5 at a time is all you're allowed, max. Just for health and safety reasons, but you can't do it. It's not out of the question. So again, during that day, we'll have access to people that you usually wouldn't. Head distiller of Titanic, Damien Rafferty, he's going to be leading us for the distillery part of things, distillery side of things. They kind of have a few unique sort of production processes there as well, which we'll not give away because he'll go into a lot better detail than I will while we're there. And then brand ambassador Arisha O'Hagan, she will be taking us through a deconstruction of their Titanic blend. And she blew the room away. I think when we were there, she is an absolute force of nature, an incredible ambassador. She was fantastic. She really stole the room and commanded the room as well with her tasting. So it'll be brilliant again. I have no doubt, no question. Bless whoever just.
What you got there, Barry? Yeah.
Here, hold on.
There we go. Bottle of the Titanic whiskey there. Lauren putting herself on the screen. She's like, I don't like the whiskey to say. Here's a view of me.
Trying to figure out how to make it bigger. Yeah, gorgeous. I think their logo is one of the nicest logos in the game. The TD,
genius logo. Yeah. Absolutely genius logo. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. TD looks like an anchor, also looks like a ship. Amazing, fantastic.
Can't wait to go back. Really can't wait to go back.
So this is our. I would say the Tuesday's probably our busiest day. Normally we don't like to include 2 distilleries in one day, but we genuinely didn't have an option here. And what we're doing at Hinch, so Hinch Distillery, about probably 30-35 minutes out of Belfast, in County Down, in Ballynahinch, where it's named after. We will be spending an evening here and doing something a little bit different. So a few of our inaugural whiskey busters, obviously Hinch was a stop on the first whiskey bus, and a few of you are returning. So we will do a very kind of brief tour of the distillery. But then what we're going to do is actually a really unique sensory experience led by the Spirit Circle Belfast, which is called the Sensorium. So this is typically a really unique sensory drinks experience, and it normally focuses on different spirits. You can incorporate whiskey, gin, vodka, tequila, whatever you want in here, but we are focusing this completely on Hinch whiskey and Hinch gin. So we're incorporating not only a really unique experience, but also we're incorporating Hinch as well, and their products and their whiskies and gin. So without giving too much away again, this tests everything you think you know about your senses. Your smell, your taste, every single thing will be put to the test here. And it tests how certain environments affect how you smell, sound, everything. It's incredible. It's so unique. And we're going to bring this. This normally takes place in a location in Belfast City Centre, but the guys from the Spirit Circle are very kindly coming out to Hinch and are going to do this experience there as well. So it will be a really unique evening. I'm excited for that one.
Lauren and I did this in Belfast a few months ago, and it showed how little we know about anything, how foolish we are, how we have no palate or nose, how we shouldn't be in this industry. So it's an amazing, humbling chance to show how we're led by labels, by styles, if we know them. You strip all that away, you start closing your nose or your whatever it is. It's amazing. It's amazing. And I think you're going to be blown away by how we taste, and gave me a greater appreciation for blind tasting too.
Absolutely. So that's what we'll be doing that evening. Something a little bit different. Obviously, we try to always kind of think outside the box and not just offer a kind of normal or regular distillery tour. So this will definitely be something very, very different. Are we still drinking the same thing? I just poured a Dunville's there, switched it up.
I'm still on the Cologne. I poured a second tawny port Cologne. You're on the stories and sips Dunville's.
Dunville's, I mean, we all know, we'll get on to those guys in a minute. They can do no wrong. Unbelievable stuff.
Do some wrong, but not in our bottles.
Not in our box, yeah, exactly. So
speaking of doing no wrong.
What do you say?
I said, speaking of doing no wrong.
This, for anyone who hasn't watched us before, I don't know where or how this started, but
we know where it started.
They seem to think that I have some affiliation with Copeland and that I am receiving backhanded payments from these guys. I am not. I don't know how this started.
You are. And I'm going to be reporting you to HMRC.
Oh God, I'll be getting a phone call during the week.
Years ago when I was growing up, if you wanted to go to Dublin, you'd take this bus from Cork to Dublin, and halfway through the journey, there was a thing called a short comfort stop in a town called Borris and Ossory. What a name for a place, Borris and Ossory. But here, there'd always be a small little shop that the bus driver knew the owner of the shop. So the bus driver would bring us all for the short comfort stop, which is supposed to be to the toilet. But you'd watch just before the bus left, you'd see the bus driver go in and he'd get handed something. And then he'd get back into the bus. And it was his little share of everything that was bought while he dropped people off to go to the toilet. We're going to be keeping a close eye on Lauren to see if she's getting backhanders from this.
Before she gets in the bus. Yeah, absolutely.
Beady eyes on me. So day 5, Wednesday 25th. Halfway through, we'll be slowly starting to fade. No, we won't really. I know who's joining us. We definitely won't. Day 5 then is we're heading to a very small coastal town called Donaghadee. Probably about 45 minutes outside Belfast, and it is the home of Copeland Distillery. So Copeland Distillery, this is inside the old Ards bottling company. So this used to be an old bottling hall essentially, and an old cinema as well. These guys haven't actually released their own whiskey yet, but it is of age and it's about to be released very, very soon. So by the time we're there, it will be of age in September. They also produce rum and they also make gin as well. So it was founded back in 2016 by Gareth Irvine, and he and his team are closing this distillery for the day that we are there to accommodate our group, which is just amazing. And honestly, this is going to be, all jokes aside, this will be a fantastic day. This is on the website, so I'm not giving any secrets away that I shouldn't be. We are going to be taking a boat, yet another boat. We love boats and we love buses, out to the Copeland Islands, where Copeland, of course, distillery is named after. It used to be a real hot spot for the smuggling of rum and whiskey, and of course poaching as well, poaching production, I believe too. We will be heading out there for a sneaky little drop of whiskey, a little bit of history about the islands and what they were used for. The Vikings, of course, used them as well. And it'll be a fascinating day. We'll also be doing a little bit of foraging out there as well. We'll come back to the distillery, do a tasting, have a little cocktail, and then we're going to head out to their warehouse, and I'm going to leave it there. Because that's where some surprises kick in. It will be a fantastic day, and this is one of the brands, as I said, that has really genuinely gone above and beyond to accommodate our bus and offer things that you just cannot get on a daily basis. So I'm very excited for this day.
This is the first whiskey bus where we have 2 boat trips, not just one, but 2.
Mm-hmm.
Is that all on the back of Lauren and Lee? Are you looking for opportunities to name stuff after yourself?
Lauren on the Lagan also works. There we are. Yeah.
And
Chandra and the Copelands.
No, it doesn't work, Barry. That doesn't work. It's or the Sheehy sailing or something like that. But no, it's all about Lauren and about how boats can be named after her, particularly as it's Copeland as well. You know,
that's true.
So
yeah,
I think it must be. You know,
I'd say she's probably shares in the place, is she?
Yeah. It's not Lauren on the run. It's Lauren on the rum. Does that work? You know, maybe something like that. I don't know. It's a gorgeous. I've had the privilege of being there a few times. It's a gorgeous wee distillery. I mean, it's so compact, but I mean, you walk through from that when you walk up them initial steps into sort of what's the reception area, and you just look, and it's a cathedral of. Not dissimilar to Pierce Distillery in Dublin, is that they're on an altar, they're at the end of the building, the stills, and it really does frame the whole experience for you. It's a great place. Gareth is a gentleman, an absolute gentleman, and it's going to be a privilege to be there with them as well. So that's a good one.
Amazing. I've never been there, so I'm looking forward to seeing it too.
Yeah.
It's I'll tell you, Nigel, this is going to be one of Nigel's struggles, is to get through Donaghadee and up to here, but we'll worry about that when we get there.
Sounds like a Nigel problem.
Sounds like a Nigel problem, indeed.
Captain Lauren, some of the suggestions we have is Captain Lauren or Cape Lauren Land. Maybe that's what she's going for, you know, maybe that's Cape Lauren Land. Cope Lauren Land, sorry. Cope Lauren Land.
I'm going to tell Gareth to brand the boat with Cope Lauren Land. I like that one. Thanks, Cian.
Instead of Cape Fear, it's Cope Lauren. Yeah, go on.
Cope Lauren Land. Love that. Then, Thursday the 26th, the penultimate day, we will be visiting, undoubtedly, a brand that is exceptionally popular within our community, and rightly so. That is the Ecklinville Distillery, producers of many spirits, Dunvilles, of course, Old Comber, Ecklinville Gin, Weaver's Gin, incredible distillery. And we will be guided by none other than Jarlath Watson, of course. He's financial director, but he actually just has a hand in absolutely everything in the distillery. Jack of all trades. He
none.
Only you can say that. So he's going to be hosting us for that evening. Seamus Og as well, of course, who's known to many of you, will also be there. I'm sure Peter there when you guys were there the first year, probably.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
So the full team essentially are going to be coming out to host us. There'll be casks opened in the warehouses. We'll have a bit of live music. Just a great evening. I feel like the last, the first year, essentially, the last Whiskey Bus that was here, everyone had such incredible feedback from the experience at Ecklinville that we didn't want to change it too much. We've just added a few little surprises in there and a few little tweaks for everyone, which will be enjoyed on the evening. So we'll be here for the evening. I forgot to mention the morning and the afternoon will be free time in Belfast. So that'll be free time to do the likes of the Titanic Museum that we've mentioned, the Black Taxi Tour, some of the markets as well. Be a little bit of free time to unwind or to explore.
Have a lie-in.
Or recover.
Yeah,
recover. Exactly.
From the seasickness that you've just put us on 4 boats and 2 trains and a helicopter.
I'm going to book a spa day for myself.
Yeah.
And the Merchant or the Clawdon up the road.
I'm not telling you where I'm going.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Be fine. Laurenville. I like this theme we've got going on here. No, we'll not continue that.
It's not all about you.
No, it's not. Like, this is very quickly becoming the Lauren show.
Listen. No, very excited about this. As I said, great things from the first Whiskey Bus, so we can't wait. I will not give too much away aside from that, because there's a few other surprises in here as well. Undoubtedly, everyone who knows Jarlath knows that he always pulls out the stops for any visit and any group that comes to him. So you always know when you rock up to Ecklinville, you're in very, very safe hands with him. Fantastic.
Seamus does make probably some of the most spectacular cocktails too. That banana bread thing is just
banana bread, yeah,
ridiculous.
It's a great cocktail. It's
Katie's favorite cocktail in the world.
Katie's favorite.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't get batches of the bottle.
Yeah, she literally bullies him into making it every time he's near her. Within 5 miles, he gets bullied into it. So yeah.
I would say there'll be a few of those had certainly at the distillery on the evening. And then final day, of course, you cannot visit County Down without visiting two of the most popular brands again in the region, Clowen and of course Two Stacks. Now we've had so many questions and so many comments throughout the week. How are you getting a bus to Clowen? We're not, is the long and the short of that. Helicopter, yeah, we're going to drop everyone in. We're going to drop everyone in.
A cannon. We're going to fire them from the bottom of the hill, up the Mourne Mountain.
Over the hill. Like, Brandon, take your roof off.
Evil Knievel motorbikes.
Take the roof off and open the mash tun for a soft landing. No, again, questions. We are not bringing a bus to Clowen. We have other ways. So what we're planning to do here is split the group in two and essentially take mini buses up to Brandon. He's well used to doing this for some visitors of his distributors and things like that when they come over to visit him. So he's well used to accommodating larger groups, but we will have to, I think this is actually one of the only cases maybe that will be split into for a distillery of this size. Those of you who have maybe been, I know Amy's in the comments, she has certainly been there. It's tiny, really small, smaller than Copeland. It was once Ireland's smallest distillery, I think, until Buillock and Donegal appeared. So we'll be doing a nice little, again, this is on the website, I think. Do you want it? Will we talk about it?
Don't give too much away now. Look.
Okay, we'll leave it there. No, we'll leave it there. But don't worry, we will be getting a bus. It'll just be smaller up to Copeland, or up to Clowen, sorry. And then Two Stacks, of course, we'll be visiting those guys. It'll be slightly easier to get a bus to a warehouse. And I'd say those guys will certainly bring out a few casks for us to crack open and have a bit of crack and have a few samples there as well. With the founders, Shane, Donal and Liam, they'll certainly be on hand to make sure we have a good time. And then for our final dinner, I'm just going to leave this image here. And I'm saying no more. I'm saying no more. I'm just going to say the word wild. And that's it.
If we stay silent, Anthony, she will say more.
I won't. I won't. No. It's like waiting. No.
Dead air.
All I'm saying is wild, and that's it. Some things are better left kept secret.
Okay, it is going to be wild. It is our finale dinner. It is, when you pitched it to me, I remember saying that's nuts, and it is nuts.
It is nuts.
It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. Richard Agnew wondering, Lauren, this is your job. Give me a break. It's true. And she even asks us for money every week for it. Believe it or not. Yeah. Tell me this, Lauren. How are we going to squeeze all this into 7 days?
It sounds like a lot, but despite the fact that there are a lot of distilleries, it is actually very, very well paced. As I said, the only day that is really full on will probably be that Tuesday where we visit Titanic and Hinch on the same day. Aside from that, we've accommodated for free evenings in there. So once we come back from a distillery in the evening, you've got a few hours more, depending on how long you want to split pints of Guinness, split the G in the Duke of York in the evening. Go for it, what you say.
I've just something to point out to both of you here now. You have both been on both buses that we've done today, and actually on the other events. At no time does anybody be sensible.
No.
And sort of say, listen, lads, I'm away to read a book, sit in a library, or I'm going to sort of peruse the area and look at some local historical monuments. We all go on the lash nearly every night afterwards. So then we have to get up the following day and pretend that, oh, this is our first day and we're fresh-eyed and, fuzzy-faced.
Do you know what, though? That's everyone else's problem. That's on everyone. That's on the individual. If they want to go out until 2 a.m. and drink Guinness and whiskey, that's on them.
You're right, but you're usually there as the ringleader, and that's usually the problem, And
what she's paid for.
and your buddy Chandler there with you as well, sitting at the bar singing the old triangle. I mean, come on, will you just quit it?
Like, I mean,
you don't think about that when I'm the sensible one in this. Like that's yeah. I go to bed early and everything. You'd never see me out like that.
Never.
This is I've learned a lot from the last few whiskey buses, right? And I have a proposal to pitch to you both now.
Right, cool.
So I remember it taking Anthony 6 weeks to be found after the first whiskey bus. They were looking under stones, under mushrooms. They were looking under cars they couldn't find the man. It took him 6 weeks to come out from under the duvet. This is no way for us to live. We're not paid to give you 6 weeks of our life, let me tell you. So I think because there's now 3 of us, we have to be a little bit sensible. We have to be a little bit smart. And we have to divide and conquer. There is no reason for us all to burn the candle at both ends. So I'm proposing this. Lauren and Anthony can be the late night people. I'm going to be the breakfast person. I'll be the morning person. I'll pour you your porridge and your red bush into your porridge, and that's it.
You were worse than any of us. You were
That's
the one
why.
who needed to
That's
look at
why.
me.
I
know.
recall on the first whiskey bus in the Jug of York, Barry throwing a few shapes and leaning against the pole.
Shocking behaviour, Barry Chandler.
Yeah, that's why this time I'm pulling back and I'm being
Not
sensible.
a word about it. You'll be the first one there. You'll be the fella that'll be standing. You'll be dancing topless on the bar in the Duke of York. Paul will be trying to get you down in the bar. It'll just.
All right, so you twisted my arm. You twisted my arm. All right, I'm in. All right.
Listen, the way I see it is, it's only 7 days. We can cope with a lack of sleep for 7 days, and then you don't hear a single thing from any of us for about 2 weeks after that.
Yes. Yeah. No.
Yeah,
Lauren,
speaking
of
which,
jobs like you.
Yeah.
If me and Barry had nice handy numbers like you that get paid for like swanning around the place and doing like showing up and pretending to be pretty and stuff, I'd be doing that. But no, we've got to work to pay your bloody wages. So
you're welcome to take the 2 weeks off, Lauren. You're welcome to the 2 weeks off. They'll be unpaid, but you're welcome to have them. You're not being paid to recover. You should have planned better.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
Speaking of pubs, shout out to a few must-sees, and there's so many more I could mention in here, but for time's sake, in Belfast, Madden's.
Yes.
One of the best pints of Guinness, not only in Belfast City, but on the island of Ireland. Sensational, great whiskey selection as well. Fantastic bar. Jug of York, which we've just mentioned. Phenomenal. Right slap bang in the Cathedral Quarter. Sensational bar. Unbelievable. Paul O'Hare is one of the nicest bar managers you'll ever meet in your life. He'll look after you. Great Guinness as well. Great live music. Biddle's Bar, also. Super bar. Getting in there may also be an issue because it's very small. So this might be one of the free afternoons, free evenings that smaller groups might decide to go there. John Biddle's as well. Please do not order half pints or order Coke or you will be thrown out. I am not joking. I love the man. He is a legend. Just don't do that. And then, of course, friend at hand. Do I need to say more? Iconic location, whiskey museum, whiskey shop. Jim and Ray will treat you like royalty as soon as you walk in through the doors. They have great single casks as well. Probably some more, hopefully, as well, by the time we get there. So, super mention.
Lauren, this is a action-packed 7 days. Would there be anything in addition to the 7 days we might be considering?
Well, there might be. For those of you who are joining us, or for those of you who could be persuaded to join us, bear in mind you better be quick, as we only have 4 spots left now. I just received a little message while we were on air there. Prior to the whiskey bus, and now I don't know how much of this you want me to tease. So prior to the whiskey
have you a picture?
Oh, yeah.
No.
You had one job. You had one job today. Now was to make slides, and you were busy admiring yourself in a puddle.
Yeah.
All right, calm down. No,
she typed frantically searching for one.
Yeah, she's like,
I was looking for one. I'm trying to get a nice one. No, you can decide how much you tell. All I will say is the night before the whiskey bus, so the 20th, Friday the 20th of September, we have secured a very special lady in the form of Alex Thomas for a very exclusive event and tasting in a secret location, a TBC location in Belfast, the night before the whiskey bus. You don't want to miss this. So anyone who is thinking of joining us or anyone who has booked, hold off on your flights, I would say, for now, as we'll be dropping you a little email to explain more of what's going on there in the next couple of days. You can add to that if you want.
Yeah, you gave them nothing, no information, zero, nothing to even wet their whistle.
I can't win.
All right, here comes
Can't win.
Here's storytelling masterclass number 1 for you, Lauren. Right.
Go on, just tell them what they're getting. Just tell them.
Not too long ago, the oldest distillery in the world released the oldest whiskey it has ever released. Bushmills released a 44-year-old single malt whiskey, the oldest whiskey ever released from the distillery since 1608. And we have secured one of only 40 bottles in the world. We're going to open it. We're not going to look at it on the shelf and admire it as an ornament, let it gather dust and dust it every week. Instead, we're going to crack it open. We're going to pour it. We're going to taste it. And we're going to be led on that tasting by the master blender who has been there for half of its maturation in the distillery. And she is going to lead us not only on a tasting of that, but up to a century of whiskies from the distillery. So a 44-year-old single malt, it's $12,000 a bottle. We've secured one, and you're going to be able to get to taste it. So just saying, that news is coming out. If you're part of the whiskey bus, you're going to get first refusal on that night. That's going to be amazing.
Incredible. So we very briefly hinted at it on socials. You might have seen a few weeks ago, a few weeks back. So that's happening. So if you are coming over, hold off on booking your flights, or if you are booking your flights, I would highly suggest you come over on the Thursday and don't fly on the Friday, or you'll miss it.
So look, that's it. That's the whiskey bus. We'll leave the north behind. If you have any questions, throw them in there. I'm thrilled. Anthony's got a question.
No, it's not that. I just want to point something out to people, and I've had people ask me about it here in the bar, and I've had people ask me online about it, and I just have to say I can't. It's sort of the price point that we've got getting this out shows how good you've done your job, Lauren, which I mean is a surprise to me as much as anything else. But it's like in the minute, considering the hotel rates and everything else, that they're just astronomical in Ireland. I mean, anybody from that tunes in are seeing that hotel rates are quite expensive in Ireland at the minute. But what we're packing in and where we're staying in 5-star hotels and some of the meals and the experiences that we're including in that, I just can't emphasize how good a value it is. It really is. And again, I suppose it came from me and Barry initially, as the ethos was, let's get people here. Let's show off what we've got. Let's tell the world. And it's been a mantra that we've had in the final meeting, final dinners of we're unleashing 30, 40 new brand ambassadors for Irish whiskey on the world. And I think they've all served us well. I think any of the brands that have been involved will sort of say that and reiterate that this is a great, unique experience. And I just want to tip my hat to you, Lauren, because you have been working a wee bit hard on this. Now, I mean, staying in hotels and drinking whiskey and getting backhanded from Copeland, I mean, it's not all that. In fairness, you've answered 2 emails or something like that, and I think you made a phone call one day. So
she wears it well. She wears it well. This job, yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Well, where?
That's actually, that's a perfect segue into one of the points we did want to touch upon. So, yes, the price for this bus is slightly higher than previous buses, but as Anthony's just touched upon there, nothing is getting cheaper. For us on our side, the bus hire, hotels, of course, as well, all across Ireland are nothing short of ridiculous, especially in cities as well. You just can't get ahead of it. There's no way around it. And this itinerary, as you've well seen, is the most packed of any other we've ever done. There's more distilleries, there's more brands, more experiences. It's all reflective and it's all relevant. So yes, it is a little bit higher, but for what you're getting, and honestly, we haven't even, there's so many surprises in there that we haven't told you, because we want to leave something to the imagination at each stop as well. It is unbelievable. It really, really is.
Here's one for you. Actually, I don't know whether you have done it yet. We were looking at hotels for Whiskey Live for this year, and that's in May. And the cheapest is in and around €600 for one night. There's hostels charging €450.
Yeah,
it's just gone beyond at the minute, and it really is. And it's, I mean, it is. You have been like a dog chasing this, in fairness to it, and good on you. It's been good, and it just brings it to bear with this. So
she's been called worse.
No, I like a dog. Well, I did.
And if you think about what
dog, sorry, Pat, you're not like a dog.
And what is included, like, it's 7 nights in a 5-star hotel. It's all your buses, all your boats, all your whiskey, all your breakfasts, at least a lunch or a dinner every day.
Yep.
All of the behind the scenes events, everything is there. It's all included. So yeah, look, anyway, we won't belabor the point. We have 4 seats left on the bus. We have 9 months to sell them. We'd love you to join us. Reach out to us if you're interested, or go to irishwhiskeyexperiences.com, and we'd love to have you. It's just going to be a trip of a lifetime. Really, really excited for it. Lauren, kudos for pulling it all together. And for getting so much over the line in such a short space of time. And no pressure, but just don't mess this up.
No.
Oh, I'll try very hard not to. Yeah, let me tell you.
Jobs on the line.
Okay, I'll bear that in mind. Listen, it wasn't easy. It was probably, in hindsight, the worst time of year to try and organize a whiskey bus, because it was in the depth of Christmas and everybody's crazy over the Christmas period getting things tied up. But we pulled it off, and yeah, I'm very, very excited for this one. I have to say, my area, so I feel a little bit of extra pressure to make a good show for sure.
We're going to move on from the whiskey bus. Anthony, we're going to talk about some of our events in Ohio. We're going to let Anthony go. Anthony, thanks for jumping on. I know, busy night in the pub as well. We raise our glass to Anthony and say Sláinte, and we will see you. We'll see you very soon.
We will, yes, no doubt we'll be talking, but for here and now, I bid you adieu. Good night, everyone.
Adieu to you.
Bye-bye.
We're going to keep going because the Shebeen is only getting started. Lauren's working her way through the top shelf of her new collection behind her.
Before you start, Barry, I have there's just something I want to pick up from in the comments. Johnny McNally has just mentioned, is Belfast on the way to Amsterdam? It might be okay to be a little late to final destination. I'm not sure, Johnny, if that means you're considering joining us and being a little late to your trip to Amsterdam. But just so you know, you can fly direct from Belfast to Amsterdam, and it's only about 1 hour, 15, 20 minutes. Just saying.
Lauren,
just saying.
Working it.
Just saying, if you're considering it, we'd love to have you. Sorry, continue.
No, you're fine. Okay, so yeah, folks, give us a shout. We'd love to have you. And Johnny, listen, great supporter of Irish whiskey, great supporter of Stories to Sip. Come on, Johnny. It's time to get to this side of the pond. We've had a few drinks in New York. It's time to have a few drinks in Belfast.
Great representation of the northern brands tonight as well. Go for it.
If you can't make it to Ireland, maybe you can make it to Ohio, because we're going to, I want to share some details that some of you are aware of already, of an upcoming event that we're hosting in March, so a little bit sooner than September. So over the last 2 years, started actually 2021 and then 2022, we hosted in Ohio Festival of Middleton Whiskies, a fundraising event to raise money for local charities. And we've opened some pretty incredible bottles of whiskey over the past few years in Ohio. We're doing it all over again this year. We're doing it in March of this year, 2024, March 1st to 3rd. We are introducing again the third Festival of Middleton Whiskies. Kevin O'Gorman, master distiller from Middleton Distillery, and myself are hosting this event that takes place over 3 days in Ohio, March 1st to 3rd in Cleveland, and just outside Columbus, Ohio, in Delaware, Ohio. The 3 bottles you see on the picture there, 2 bottles of Sláinte Distillery Chapter 4, a 48-year-old blended Irish whiskey, the oldest Irish whiskey ever released as part of a series in history. A $50,000 bottle will be opened twice. We'll have 2 different bottles that will be opened both in Cleveland and Columbus to raise money for charity. We've also got a bottle of Ferret de Tronçais, a €5,000 Middleton Very Rare. We've also got cask drawn directly from the warehouse, the oldest warehouse in Middleton. Kevin O'Gorman is drawing samples. This is going to be an incredible live event. We have 4 events over 3 days that are taking place in Ohio. Kevin is flying over especially for it. This is the Sláinte Distillery Chapter number 4. Never before have 2 bottles of Sláinte Distillery been opened publicly, and never before has there been a public tasting of Sláinte Distillery Chapter 4 anywhere in the world. 48 years maturing, overseen by 4 master distillers in Middleton, and it's a $50,000 bottle. We're opening 2 of them. And I want you to join us because it's going to be an absolutely great few days, March 1st to 3rd. You can get details of it on storiesandsips.com. I'm also going to put the link here in the... Actually, let me find the link and paste it into the comments as well. Lauren is kicking herself that she can't fly over for it.
I'm busy finalising bus 3 in March, which will kick off about 2 weeks after that. So I'll be in Ireland.
She says that she's actually at another whiskey festival.
Oh, I am. That's right. Yes. Oh my God, I forgot that was the same weekend. Yes. Well, in the midst of.
Last year we raised $70,000 for charity, folks. We were lucky enough to have some amazing donors and benefactors of the charity. Malachy House in Cleveland was our main charity last year, our only charity last year. This year we're not only raising money for Malachy House, which provides end-of-life care to the homeless in Cleveland, gives them dignity at the end of their life, ensures that they have care while they are in the final stages of their life. It ensures they have a dignified burial. And it's a really important charity that does a lot of good work. We're also teaming up with United Way of Delaware, who have a transitional youth program called the Treehouse in Delaware that allows youth who are transiting from a life that has been particularly challenging into employment, into stability, and we're going to help support their cause so that those kids have a chance at a life that maybe they didn't have a great chance starting out with, and hopefully they have a better chance because we can raise some funds to give it to them. So again, Kevin O'Gorman, master distiller from Middleton Distillery, it'll be the only time he'll be doing a public tasting, in the United States in 2024. I'll be joining him again. We're dressed there in our lovely tuxedos, but there's no black tie needed this year. We're widening the circle. A lot of people said last year they couldn't come because they didn't have black tie. So we said, right, fine. Well, then leave your black tie at home. Just wear a nice little suit, a nice jacket, and we'll let you in. And it'll be a great event. So we're hoping you can join us. And again, the details are in the chat. Go to storiesandsips.com if you want them as well. Kevin says, would you consider adding a non-tasting ticket? A non-tasting ticket. My wife loves fancy events, but just doesn't drink whiskey. Our challenge, Kevin, is it's a fundraiser. So we're trying to raise as much funds as possible. There's only so many seats available. There's only so much space available. So we did have people who didn't drink whiskey last year who came and still bought the ticket. I know that's not the easiest thing to hear when you're looking for maybe, a ticket that doesn't involve the whiskey, but I don't know that we'll be introducing non-whiskey drinking tickets going forward. But look, if you want to buy a ticket, reach out to me and we'll see what we can do. We'll see if we can work something out. Turtlenecks allowed? Yeah, Chris, you can wear 6 turtlenecks, 7 if you want. No problem at all. We'll let you in. What else do we have to tell you? Some quick Stories and Sips Whiskey Club news. Our next club bottling is a Stories and Sips collaboration with our friends in 2 Stacks. Some of our Whiskey Club members were part of a blending exercise. They had their graduated cylinders on hand recently to formulate a blended whiskey. We came up with that blend. It's now being batched together for us, and it'll be released very, very soon. Not only that, but we're also going to put some of them in cans. So we'll have a little blend in a can for you folks, so that you can take our Stories and Sips blend on the road with you as you follow your favorite bands. You go skiing, you travel through the airport, you go to sporting events, you go do whatever you want. You can have a can in your pocket and 100 milliliters of Stories and Sips blend everywhere you go. We've got you covered. Like, we've got all eventualities for thirst covered here. It's as simple as that.
Drams for all occasions.
A dram for all occasions. What have we missed, Lauren? What have we missed?
I think we have covered a pretty thorough run through of our upcoming, September whiskey bus. You've covered your side, your upcoming events. The only other thing we can very briefly touch on, given the time, is obviously the next whiskey bus, the March whiskey bus, is very quickly approaching. It's about 8 weeks away. We're very, very excited for that. It'll be a great week. Let's not let the September bus and the excitement around that overshadow our trip out west in March over St. Patrick's Day. And many of you, in fact, most of you on that bus are actually continuing your trip to Cork for Cork Whiskey Fest as well, which is brilliant. So we'll have you for a few extra days. No doubt we'll find ourselves at some tasting events as well. So I think we're about 50-something days away, which is scary. But we're very much looking forward to it.
Is it a time to maybe do some breaking news on the St. Patrick's Day element?
About the theme? We'll maybe cover the theme.
Well, people don't even know that there's a thing.
No. So during the week, we stopped off. We paid a visit to Louise McGuan, founder of JJ Corey, in Curraclare in County Clare. So we stopped off at her warehouse, her house as well, not only her warehouse, for a little catch up to see where we were at with Whiskey Bus 3, the March Whiskey Bus West, and our St. Patrick's Day parade, of course. So update on that is that we do have a flatbed truck. All 30 plus of us are going to be on that truck. It will be branded in number 1 in Clare colours. It will also be branded with whiskey barrels and JJ Corey bottles. So we will be having a full branded float for a St. Patrick's Day parade in Kilrush, which is a tiny, tiny little village, also in County Clare, about 10-15 minutes away from the home of JJ Corey itself. We will be in fancy dress. We will have a theme. The theme is simply Irish whiskey. Do with that what you want and what you may. And there will be a prize for the best dressed throughout the parade as well. And on that day, it is honestly going to be a phenomenal day. What Louise has planned for us is just exceptional. She really is pulling out all the stops for our visit. It'll be a highlight for sure. I'm calling it now. It really will.
I can't believe the things we agreed to or plan with a few whiskeys inside us on late night events like this, where we say, should we join a parade? And then a few weeks later, we're organizing flatbed trucks and secure handrails so people don't fall over the edge of the flatbed truck. It's going to be amazing. And, we say you can't just rock up to a distillery and get some of our experiences. Well, I don't know if you can rock up to a St. Patrick's Day parade in Ireland and say, I want to be in a whiskey-themed float. You wouldn't find it. So you have to put it together.
And also, of course, I know we will be on the back of a flatbed truck. It will be completely secure. Louise has reassured us of this time and time again that we will be absolutely fine. And of course, there'll be a little whiskey to be had throughout the parade as well. We got to keep warm. The west of Ireland in March won't be the warmest of locations, that's for sure. And then, of course, we'll be able to warm up. Louise was saying there's a lovely little pub in Kilrush itself in the village that we can warm up in afterwards with an Irish coffee, a hot whiskey, a pint, whatever you want. So I'm so excited that going to see her just made me even more excited for that day on our March bus. And honestly, it will fly in. 2 months is nothing. It really is. February is a very short month as well, so it'll go even quicker.
It's going to be I think St. Patrick's Day itself will be the highlight of our week. The activities at JJ Corrie are going to be amazing. We got a taste of them there last week and got to see what Louise has in store. And we'll share more details of those. If you're not joining us, we're going to cover all this. We're going to share all details, photos, videos on the day. Everyone who's there will be the same. Look, our job is to introduce you, whether it's virtually or in person, to the people, the places, the pours of Irish whiskey. We're going to do that through Shebeen, through our social media posts, and of course, through the tours, the experiences themselves. But if you can't join us, we hope you get a sense of what's happening, and we hope you maybe add something to your bucket list, add something to your next trip, so that you really get a sense for just what Ireland has to offer, because it's pretty special, and we're getting to see that up close as we visit all of these locations, planning this out. And Lauren's been having a great time meeting with the folks who historically in her old job she wouldn't have met, and she's now finally getting to see up close what's really happening out there.
It's so much fun, honestly. We're incredibly lucky to call this our job, and the career that we've followed is this. We're very privileged, and it's great fun. I'm having the best fun, I think, out of any of the three of us representing all these brands. As Barry said,
She's the only one that's being paid. That's why.
Representing these brands that I wouldn't have really been able to be vocal about before, for obvious reasons. When you work for a brand, you got to be loyal to that brand, and of course it was a privilege, and it still is, of course, that what I did with Bushmills. But I'm having great fun. It's unbelievable to just showcase the whole island. It's a phenomenal industry. It's only getting stronger, and there's only going to be more brands to showcase and to put on a pedestal and highlight as the years go on. Fingers crossed anyway. So it's great.
A couple of, and you're doing a great job at it, Lauren, and we have to commend you for it. All jokes aside, I know we give you a bit of a public ribbing here, but we're very lucky. We're very lucky.
You're allowed to do that. It's fine.
We have a couple of questions to pose to you on the nature of our very Shebeen that we're on here. We are getting busier and busier with all of these events that are taking place. And one of the challenges for us is our early Monday mornings, when we have many calls with brands and distilleries trying to plan things. And when we rock into bed at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning after our Shebeens, it can be tough to get up on a Monday morning. We've been discussing the nature of the Shebeen, which we want to keep going and continuing and ensure that's a way for us to communicate with you. But we have considered, or are considering, moving the Shebeen to a Friday night. When I hosted the lock-in live streams in 2021, 2022, or 2020, 2021, they were all on a Friday night. Everyone was stuck at home and couldn't go anywhere, so we had a captive audience. But Friday night would allow us to sleep in on a Saturday morning and have a full working week from Monday. Very non-scientific poll. Any objections to us moving to a Friday night is the first question. If we did the same time but on a Friday night, that's the first question. And then the second question is, some folks have reached out saying, look, I can't tune in no matter what night of the week you do it. It just doesn't work for me, but I want to listen to it when I'm in the car. I want to listen to it when I'm working out. And can we make it into a podcast? And that's another option for us, is that we don't do this event live. Is that instead we do it as a recorded podcast that you download on Apple, on your Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Google Play or wherever you get your podcasts, and it's on demand, and you just play it whenever you want. And that's another option for us. So look, these things are out in the ether right now. We value your input. Let us know. We'll do a more scientific poll and maybe our group as well, but curious if there's any thoughts on that as well. So far, everyone is asleep or has passed out from all the whiskey.
It's you're right. It's difficult sometimes when you've got a call at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. on a Monday morning with brands, and you're trying to be alert and communicative and eager with them, and we're half asleep because we've been in bed only 6 hours prior.
Typical Dave. We offer Friday or Sunday. He says, give me Saturday.
Friday night's Friday good. Yeah. Okay. Forklift at 7 a.m. Monday. We feel you, Lloyd, honestly. Like, it's Monday mornings do become tough when you're up to 2, 3 a.m. by the time you get settled. So.
And if we do move to Friday, Scott says, great idea. The podcast would be awesome. Sleep is overrated, says Troy. I pick Friday night over a podcast. Yeah, okay, that's a challenge. Of course, which one do you pick? But I do like the nature of the live engagement. Like there is something nice
like
about
it
us having
too.
the back and forth, even though
Yeah.
I have to speak to Lauren and have chats.
I feel like everyone who joins is part of it. Like as you say, the crack, the comments, like the comment Richard made earlier about him fishing in the lagoon and the fish thanked him. Like I nearly spat out my whiskey. I'd miss that. I'd miss that if we weren't live.
I know.
Troy, we know you don't need sleep because you sleep for about 3 hours a night and you're grand. We need 8. We're 8 hours a night sleepers.
Yeah.
Plus,
Well, look, we'll bear it in mind and we'll keep working through it. We're not going away. It's just evolution, you know. Like I think it's just we need our full working weeks, and if we're paying Lauren for a full week, we can't be paying her while she's in bed asleep. Like we want to get a full week out of her.
snoozing on a Monday morning.
No to the podcast, loss of spontaneity, yes to Friday. Okay, I think that's probably in line with what we're thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true, Tom. Actually, the Shebeens after the pub. A few drinks on a Friday after work. Oh, got a Shebeen, got a live stream.
That's it. So look, we'll do that. We'll keep talking about it. The chances are that from as soon as this coming Friday, we might move to the Friday night.
Yep.
So
Yep.
all going to plan. All right, listen, Sinead, that's it. We've said it all. We've said too much. We've said some things. We had great crack again. Thanks all for joining us and allowing us to share with you our love, our passion for Irish whiskey, and for the crack around it. And as Lauren said earlier, she can't believe this is her job. I can't believe this is my job, that we get to talk about this, do this, and be ambassadors for a product, a island, and a category that gives us great joy. It's never tough to talk about it. It's never tough to market it because we're so proud of it, because we stand over everything that comes out. And so it's really a joy. And we thank you for joining us in this journey as we've introduced all kinds of ludicrous ideas along the way to go deeper into it. And we'll never stop thanking you for allowing us to be part of your lives in a small way as well. So thank you very much for everything you've done for us so far. Don't stop now, though. We have lots more coming. Lots more coming, right?
Absolutely. So much. So many things in the pipeline and things that we haven't revealed yet. And as Barry said, just to echo that, you're the best community we could ever wish for. You're always fantastic supporters, and it means the world to us more than we'll ever be able to tell you. So truly, thank you so much, everyone.
Sláinte, everybody. Have a good night. We'll chat to you soon. Sláinte.